Hey, hi everyone, good afternoon. I am really sorry about this delay in sending that video or audio note that I had promised about voice modulation. Now, Archana, the question is apt, and most of the clients request for voice modulation. The only thing that I want, for all of us to also understand is that people think that having a high pitch or having, a slow version or slow pace of talking is the ideal method of voice modulation, or that's the ideal when it comes to public speaking. But the myth is that we need all four, right? So we need high pitch, we need low pitch, we need fast and slow, all four, right? So just for all of us to understand, high pitch is when I want to stress on a particular word. I go slightly higher on the pitch, and then I actually bring my pitch down, pace it down slightly slower, so that the rest of it is, even if it's not important, it does not really matter to the other person. How do we understand that? So as simple as, if there's a sentence where I want to say I want to buy a car, right? So when I say buy, my inflection or my stress is on the verb buy, and buy is important here because I'm talking about buying and not selling or renting, right? Or I'm not talking about maybe subscribing for Zap, but I'm talking about I want to buy a car, right? So the inflection or the stress is mostly on the word the word buy or the verb buy. Or if I want to focus more on the car and not bike or scooter or anything else or a house, I would say I want to buy a car, right? So that's how the high pitch or low pitch can be combined. We can go slightly lower when it's an unimportant message, but we can go slightly higher on the pitch and stress the word more where we want the stress to be. So we also call it the power words, or we call it the content words. For example, I want to stress more on the verb of the sentence, then my pitch would slightly go higher there. I would stress on that word, and then I can go back to a normal pitch or a low pitch, right? And you would see me in this video also using a similar version. When I want to stress on a particular word, my pitch would slightly go up, projection slightly more higher and very clear, and then bring it down when it's a non-important or not so important part of the sentence, right? So high and low pitch both is important. Sometimes low pitch is important when we have a serious news or a serious message to be given out, and we see a lot of times speakers do that when we want to announce something which could be grim, which could be disturbing, a crisis or a disaster. The pitch really goes down, or on a medium level, right, where we do not really sound very enthusiastic and eager and excited, but instead our pitch is slightly more on the serious side, right? And that's also sounds business-like when there is a news, there is something that we want to tell the person. So for clients and specifically leaders, if they have something where they want to talk about a change in the policy, compliance guidelines, rules and regulations, or they've noticed some deviations or something which is more troubling, something which is more serious in business, and they want to make that announcement about it, or they want to bring in some new compliance and policies, that's when they use a low pitch and not sound too excited, right? That's the difference between high pitch and low pitch. How do they practice that? They can practice that by constantly practicing different sentences with low and high pitch, and ask them to work through those notes and see where do they want to stress more and where do they want to stress less, because not everyone actually is good with high pitches. They are not, most of the times do not sound really too excited. So we have to tell them to first draft their message and underline words which they feel is very important for them, and stress on those words more in a sentence, and keep practicing that. Only with practice over a period of time will they see that when there is a particular speech or when there is a particular message that they have to give out to their audience or their team members, they would start stressing a lot more on the words which is more important, and their pitch will slightly go higher because they're not very good or comfortable with high pitches. It's not easy for everyone to do that. So That's one part of it. The other part of it is fast versus slow. Again, there's a myth that fast is the ideal, or the medium is the ideal, or low is the ideal. It's a combination of both. Sometimes, if you saw in this particular video, there are versions where I've gone faster and I've gone slower, right? Not because those were not important, but the faster ones makes you actually feel that it's something that I've said, which you know already, and pause. And then go about picking up a slow version or a slower pace for things which you feel the person needs to listen better or need to understand better. And that's a very teacher facilitation method as well, when we want to talk about a topic which people normally know. So communication is a combination of listening versus speaking. I can go faster here because I know most of my audience knows about it, but I pause. I pause after a fast rate of speech because pause allows the listeners to absorb faster, give them some space, and then you can go on to the next part of the speech. Again, slow pace is important when there is an important part of information and which has got layers to it. We need to break it down. So for example, if there are bullet points that the speaker wants to tell the audience, they want to say, hey, there are 3 things that I want to concentrate on today, or I want to focus primarily on. The first one is this. So that could be a slower pace. I could go faster saying, hey, there are 3 things that I want to talk about first. So I go faster and I go slow. We can do that. And this is something which requires practice. I would say if people feel, if our clients feel that they're not very good with faster speech, because most of the times we are not very comfortable speaking in a high rate of speech, then prefer the medium or low pace only. But as we know it, Indians, we have a rate of speech very high. There is a document, we had used it in the certification batches as well, which is measuring the rate of speech. You can measure your rate of speech with that document. If you know your rate of speech is high, then practice using slow rate of speech, right? Ask the clients to use a recorder and practice. The third most important exercise for voice modulation is breathing techniques. Breathing, I sometimes it also helps you de-stress, but breathing as in have 2 long breaths inhale and 2 long breaths exhale, just important because that keeps you calmed down. It also helps you pace down when your rate of speech is really high. If your client knows that the rate of speech is high, it's always good for them to have more pauses in their delivery, or more pauses in the way they are presenting. That would help them have a pause, ask the audience, did you get it? Do you want me to elaborate? Ask them to use these questions if they feel the rate of speech is high. If the rate of speech is slow, ask them to make it more signpost driven, more bullet driven, because then people are not bored of their presentation, because slow pace or low pitch sometimes can be monotonous and droning. So for these people, keep your content crisp, because that you do not sound that enthusiastic in spite of practicing so much. It's just not in you that you sound that enthusiastic all the time. It's a monotone, but you are stressing on certain words a lot more than required because you want people to know what you want to convey. So ask them to make their speech crisp and not too long, and not to add any humor into it. But some people are very good with humor. They are able to add humor with a serious tone as well. If they can carry it well, why not? So I hope this video helps you, and let me know how this went for you. Thank you.